What you're looking at is armed militia in Oregon, threatening reporters who have come to cover the wildfires that are raging across the West Coast. Why are there armed militias threatening reporters covering a wildfire? Let's talk about it. I'm Graham Brookie. I used to work at the National Security Council across the hall from the Situation Room in the White House. And now for the last 3 years, I've been working with a bunch of people all over the world to look at disinformation and the fault lines of democracy. But today, we're going to be talking about the disinformation, the spread of false information deliberately about the origins of the wildfires. Oregon, California, Washington State, and any number of other states across the West are battling to contain these mega wildfires. They've burned an unimaginable swath of land and created in many places what has measured as the worst air quality on the planet. The fires have also killed at least 27 people as of the time of this recording and caused tens of thousands of Americans to evacuate from their homes. This is a crisis, and during crisis events, the people who are affected need the most accurate and up-to-date information to potentially make life and death decisions. And so I'm joined today by Kate Conger of the New York Times, who writes about technology issues. So Kate, what are you seeing with regard to the fires?
It's one of those moments where people have a lot of fear, a lot of concern about what's going on, and it sort of creates this perfect environment for disinformation to take hold and spread really quickly. This is something that we saw a lot with the response to the coronavirus as well, that a lot of smaller towns base their emergency response and communication all around Facebook. This situation is especially interesting because at the same time as you see these local law enforcement agencies really relying on Facebook to tell people to evacuate, you're also seeing Facebook really be the breeding ground for a lot of this rumor and misinformation. Several sheriff's departments, several police departments putting up messages saying, we're overwhelmed. We've been just deluged with calls about these rumors, asking people to stop sharing and spreading this kind of misinformation and just to rely on information from official sources. You and I both looked at this one example of a post where a police department had put up some information about potential looting and asked people to report suspicious behavior. And that authentic post got swept up in this misinformation campaign of people saying, oh, this is about arsonists. And then the police department had to come back and clarify, no, we didn't mean arsonists, we just meant looters.
The vast majority are these claims that Antifa are going from urban centers or cities to the forest to start these wildfires, for which there is no evidence. And then there's this one case where there has been false information that a group that is a far-right kind of militant and violent group called the Proud Boys also went into the forest and started these fires. And again, there's no evidence for that. There was this post that was spread like crazy over social media. It was a hoax Antifa account on Twitter. The account said something along the lines of, we're going into Oregon to start these wildfires. Not true. It turns out we found the account was actually a hoax account that was created by far-right activists. So you have far-right activists that created this parody Antifa account to basically like troll the far left or the libs. There is a former Republican candidate for Senate. His name is Paul Romero. He tweeted out the Antifa rumor and it got retweeted 10,000 times. Paul Romero kind of looked at his Twitter account. You reached 10,000 people. He tried to walk it back. But here's the challenge with disinformation. He responded to his tweet, but only, 100 or so people engaged with that tweet. Another example is an article from the far-right website Law Enforcement Today, which has spread other cases of misinformation, disinformation before, claimed without evidence that the wildfires were coordinated and planned, and it attracted more than 330,000 comments, likes, shares on Facebook. Law Enforcement Today topped the story with an update stating that suggestions that Antifa members have been arrested are unfounded, but they left the article up. If a case of disinformation reaches 10 people, but those 10 people are huge influencers or have a huge amount of audience and can amplify that message, then that's really impactful.
Now, I actually love Portland. It's one of my favorite places to perform. Most of the people there are very nice. But there's a madness going on there. You want to talk about madness of crowds? That exemplifies that right now. And it's to me, they've arrested people for lighting forest fires up there. They've arrested left-wing people for lighting these forest fires. Air quote activists. And this is something that's also not widely being reported. That people have actually been arrested for lighting fires up there. This is, I don't know what, like, if I would love to talk to the mayor and say, what is your strategy for ending this? Are you hoping this is just going to die down? Because these people want your head and they want blood, and they don't seem to be willing to settle for anything less.
What was really surprising to me was just how widespread this became and how quickly. I mean, we had folks up in Oregon covering the wildfires on the ground that went to some of these towns and were interviewing people, and over again, people were saying, no, I'm not going to evacuate because Antifa is coming. I can see how people would want to latch on to that information because, you know, if you don't want to leave to begin with, you're looking for some kind of justification to be able to stay. You see these things online and you think, okay, maybe a couple people are falling for it here and there. And it was something else to have reporters going in, finding all of these people who had decided to stay behind because they were really bought into this rumor.
A wildfire is a wildfire, regardless of how it started. If it's a threat to your person, you should probably get the hell out of there, right?
There's so much debate in the misinformation space about what is the real world impact of this. You know, you see something that's fake or a rumor or whatever, and it has 4,000 retweets, and it's like, okay, a lot of people saw this, but who cares? What did it actually do? And I think this is one of those circumstances where you really see the immediate impact of people staying behind in an evacuation scenario when they really need to leave.
The impact is really, really tough to figure out. Sometimes there's a very, very clear cause and effect, like this piece of disinformation happened and this person went and did something because of it. Frankly, disinformation, the intentional spread of false information, is intended to bait misinformation. And a lot of people kind of mix up those two terms or use them interchangeably. So in the case of Oregon wildfires, for instance, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that just kind of saw something. They were like, holy shit, there's Antifa in the forest, for which, again, there is no evidence, and then shared it. That's misinformation. But the people who started that story with the intention that a bunch of people were going to spread it, that's disinformation.
I do feel like it's so hard to get ahead of this stuff because it takes no time to make up a rumor and have it go extremely viral. Like, it takes no time at all. You're seeing all of these posts go hugely viral with these claims of the wildfires being caused by arsonists. There's just no time to catch up to that and to debunk it because of the work involved in doing that. And it's just so sad to me how people get so sucked into this and how their good intention can be sort of warped by misinformation. What are you even looking for? Like, what does the Antifa look like that you're going to find?
They're not like some armed militia, for instance, like the armed militia that has blocked roads in Oregon.
It seems like you see these sort of retaliatory rumors start to spread, right? Like later on, you see these people sort of putting out the same rumor, but claiming that the Proud Boys are behind it and say, oh, no, it's not this side, it's that side. Those are the arsonists, and people wanting to divert blame for something that's not even real. So you see that fear get really hyped up into this sort of larger than life threat.
You still have a bunch of disinformation that's harming people in a very real wildfire. So like, what the fuck are we going to do about it? And we don't have a good answer for that because there's a bunch of trade-offs.
I think an earlier response in this case would have been helpful. There's also a legitimate side to that debate that worries about an overcorrection, over-censoring online conversation. I think Twitter has actually taken a lot of the strides on this in trying to curb the spread of disinformation, is taking away the ability to share a post. So the post is still live on the platform, it remains up, but they're taking away some of the mechanisms by which it would go viral. One of the other things that they've been doing, labeling information or adding context to tweets rather than just giving themselves a binary decision of leave it up or take it down. I did see Facebook responding a little bit to this wildfire situation and saying that they didn't come out and debunk it right away because, you know, the complaints were coming from local law enforcement. But once the FBI office in Oregon stepped in and said this is false information, then Facebook took action on it.
But bottom line, in the meantime, disinformation about the Oregon wildfires makes responding to the actual Oregon wildfires a lot harder for the people that are responding to the Oregon wildfires. So Kate, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through what's happening in Oregon, what's happening with wider disinformation, what people can do about it. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. This was really great.
If there's misinformation that you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comments. Also, please subscribe to our channel and keep up with the latest episodes.